Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Hey ArtTube, welcome back. It's good to have you in the studio again. Today I'm painting this scene of a mountain stream that I came across in the Rocky Mountain National Park. The lighting is early morning and it's backlit, and since it's backlit, the edges of things like the trees are lit up and the darks are not as deep dark as they normally would be in the daylight. Now, if you have any questions about what I'm doing or why, put them down in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them for you. I thought I had hit the record button on the camera when I started, but I didn't. So I pressed it as soon as I realized I'd fucked up. Hi-ya! That was for you, Uncle Roger. Not a great way to start, but hey, it's how you finish that matters, right? Anyways, I'd already laid in some of the darkest darks, and so this is where we pick it up. When I lay down the paint, even from the beginning, lately I've not been cutting my oil paint with much thinner at all. I just put it down more thinly, but not thin down, if that makes any sense whatsoever to you. I think that you have more control, or at least I do, if I don't cut the oil paint at the start with Gamsol or thinner or something like that. I can make it slippery as snot and really slow things down, so I just go en natural from the start and just try to get the values as close as I can from the get-go. I'm able to add layers over the top of these initial layers by adding them with a light touch and putting them on a little thicker and letting the brush do the work. As I go along with this, you can watch at a slightly sped up, but not super sped up recording. I've talked to you all about my thoughts and painting process in a lot of my other videos, and so I'm not going to bore you with that again. If you're interested in a description of my process of the painting, go back and watch some of my other videos that I've posted. Here's a link to my oil painting playlist that will let you work away at that. But today I'd like to tackle a question that I got via email from one of my subscribers. He asked me how to stay, or even to get motivated. He has time on his hands, yet he can't seem to make himself paint like he says he wants to. Something's keeping his motivation low at times. I thought this is a problem a lot of folks are experiencing, so let's talk about it while I do this painting. To be totally honest, I don't feel like I'm really qualified to give advice to anyone. Let me throw that out there. But what works for me may not work for you. But even though I'm not qualified, I'm going to do it anyways, since you asked. First, let me say, this is just my perspective. I'm always going to shoot straight with you. That's what I've gone through, or am still going through. If you're just starting out, or a ways down the road, or even just thinking about starting to paint or draw, I've been where you are, and I know what you're going through. Not the same life story as you, obviously, but the dreams and the struggles are there, and I still go through them. So, motivation, huh? One thing that can keep us from getting started, I think, is the fear of the struggle or the failure that we know is going to come. So one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got on this was from a man I never met. In his book, Drawing the Head and Hands by Andrew Loomis, he says, "Let us consider obstacles as something to be expected in any endeavor. Then they won't seem quite so insurmountable." In other words, painting is hard, and you can expect to fail along the way. It's just part of it. And to quote Tom Hanks's character in that great movie, A League of Their Own, "Of course it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. If it were easy, everybody would do it. The hard is what makes it great." Having said that, how do you stay motivated when it gets hard? First, you have to know where you want to go. You have to ask yourself if you're really serious enough about starting something as involved as learning to paint or draw. What does success look like to you? Is it enough just to lay down some paint and not care what the end product looks like? Or is it important to you to start where you are, make progress, and really have something down the road that you can be proud of and look back to see how far you've come? Doing art well, whether painting or drawing, well, doing representational art anyways, is tough. I mean, it's not as tough as, let's say, a WWE WrestleMania wrestler, or as tough as listening to anything Yanni's put out there that he passes off as music. but it takes commitment and discipline. In short, you have to want it. I mean, not just when it's all rainbows and unicorns in a field of wildflowers, but, when it's basic training in the rain with your rifle in the mud and you're on your back sliding in the mud under a canopy of barbed wire just inches above your face. Was that over the top? Yeah, maybe, but not by much. It takes showing up when you're happy to be there, of course, but also when you're tired and just want to sit in front of the TV watching the Wheel of Jeopardy and vegging out. That's where having that concrete goal in your head that you want this and have to look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, write down that goal of yours on a Post-it, like you would an affirmation. Put it on the mirror that you have in the bathroom or the shower or on the toilet or on the TV so that you're reminded of what you want and how badly you want it. When I was still a full-time illustrator and was still working towards my goal of painting full-time, I knew that I wouldn't have the creative energy to paint when I got home from work. So I got up and painted for a couple of hours before I went to work. I put my dreams first, and believe me, I am not a morning person. But I wanted it, and I was willing to do this to achieve my dream. On the weekend, I'd go out and dedicate one day, usually a Saturday, and paint on location. And I had just gotten married. Plein air was on my list of goals. I was living in Minnesota then, and I'd go out even in the winter months until I got fed up with my paints freezing on my palette. Then I'd only go out if the temp was 18 degrees or above. Yeah, sure, it sucked sometimes, but I was always happy in the end of the day, even when I failed. Because I showed up and I had to get those bad paintings out of my system, and believe me, you do too. Now, there may be something seriously wrong with me. Well, I know there is, but I almost never have a problem with motivation. It must just be the way that I'm wired, and I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad if you're struggling with this. I'm just being honest. I still get butterflies in my tummy when I get out of bed and cannot wait to get into the studio. Unless it's a cleaning day. Then I procrastinate like I'm going to my doom. Seriously, it's ridiculous. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives like you and me. With so many classes and so much to explore, well, if you have a curious mind and you love to learn about things like fine art, illustration, design, photography, video, marketing, and so much more, this community was designed with you in mind. If you're anything like me, you want to keep growing and learning new things your entire life. And judging by the fact that you're watching this art video, I'm going to take a wild guess that you are. One of my favorite things about Skillshare is that most classes are under 60 minutes, with each class broken down into smaller bite-sized chunks. So they're designed the way most of us learn the best, smaller segments that are easily learned. And since most classes have projects, you'll retain more of what you learn. And even better, there are no ads ever. There are new premium classes added all the time, so you're never going to run out of new things to learn. Now, so far I've told you about some of the classes that I've taken, from urban sketching to photography to character drawing. Well, I'm also musical, so that's why I decided to take a course on how to rap. Okay, that's not true. Some things are even out of the reach of what Skillshare is able to accomplish. No, I'm actually taking a digital painting class, oddly enough called Digital Painting Concept Landscapes. This will help me to change my photo reference that I'm working from and give me more freedom to paint what I have in my head and not be a slave only to what's in the photo reference. The class is taught by Jonas DeRoe, a ridiculously talented digital artist that's done film and game concept art for the big dogs. I like his straightforward teaching style that covers every part of the process, from gathering reference to thumbnailing, all the way through to painting the final piece. Heck, just learning the trick to use linear dodge add layer and a linear dodge add brush in Photoshop to get your light effects, now that was worth the price alone. And Skillshare is offering to the first 1,000 people that use the link in my description a free trial of their premium membership. Just click that link and you're in. Hey, that's a free premium membership to see if it's right for you. And I'm sure that after you've had a chance to try it, you'll stick with it, just like me. Now, if you do decide to keep going, it's less than $10 a month. So take that first step to learn what you've always said you wanted to. Imagine what you can do with Skillshare and a few extra spare moments of your time. Go on, click that link. Getting back into this now, one thing that you can do to help to keep you going is to paint with someone else. You know, a paint buddy. If you have someone in your life that paints too, hook up with them. No, not like that. You know, unless you both want to and you're adults, then I say knock yourselves out. But you don't even have to paint together. But if you get together once a week just to show or even critique each other's work, it's one of the reasons that I used to take music lessons or life drawing classes. Someone is there to support you and hold you accountable, to encourage you. I've shown paintings that I thought were failures at critiques when someone would show me how to fix what I was doing wrong or how I could easily finish it. It's a great thing to be able to be a part of. If you can't do that with someone local, start posting your work in online forums. You can use a fake name and no one's going to know it's you even if they know you. Set a goal of how many paintings or drawings that you can do in a day or in a week and stick to it if you can. Yeah, life gets in the way. I know your football team loses on Sunday and you can't be coaxed out from under the bed for the rest of the week. I get it. But stick to it as much as you can. No excuses. Ooh, or even better, I really recommend having a mentor if you can. Someone that you respect who's kind of further along in the path than you. Be open to their constructive criticism and let them push you and hold you accountable to your goals. I do have a mentor and I'm very grateful to them for their help and generosity. Oh, and I really recommend taking workshops or classes. You don't always have to travel to do these. Often there are wonderful workshops in your backyard. Just look for your local arts organizations. They can usually hook you up. Not only are you going to get better more quickly, but again, they're going to inspire you to get in the studio and create using your newly acquired skills. So far we've talked about having a paint buddy or using an online forum, having a mentor. Another thing I like to do to get myself inspired is to go through the books or online websites of my favorite artists and search online to find new favorites. Start an inspiration board on Pinterest and start pinning lots of boards, one of each kind of the arts that you love. Landscapes, portraits, nudes, Western art, abstracts, California Impressionists, artists who paint with puppets, whatever floats your boat. Start following your favorite artists on Instagram if they're still alive and computer savvy. I put a lot of my discretionary income into my art books, and most artists that I know do too. Become a student. Immerse yourself in studying your favorite artists or art movements. Books, or even better, videos that are available now are astounding and of such high quality. Right now, I'm working doing some videos on my channel of my favorite books about my favorite artists. The best books on how to paint or draw or learn color or pen and ink. If you can't afford to buy them, go to the library and check them out or borrow them from your art buddies. One last suggestion is to do art shows or competitions. This will give you a deadline and something to work towards. If you know you have a hard date to enter your work, it can get you moving again. So it looks like the best tips for me have to do with having deadlines or someone to be accountable to. But I'd like to know from you, what are some of your best tips? Leave them down in the comment section. We can all benefit. And here's the final painting. I had a ball painting this. It took me about 2.5 hours to do, and I just really enjoyed doing it. I call this one Autumn Shimmer. Well, that'll do it for this one. It's time to close up the studio. And until the next video, I'll see you down the road.